So I've been offering this art course for a few years now, and I've decided to make it an online series on YouTube. This is a very basic art course for those that are wanting to learn how to draw or perhaps become a better artist. I'm calling it Dynamics of Drawing. And we're going to be going over everything together. 2D and 3D primitive shapes, how to identify primitive shapes in your environment, how to make 3D shapes from different 2D shapes. I'm going to teach you different drawing styles. I'm going to teach you different ways to shade. I'll go over the different pencils that I use, as well as tools that have been recommended to me from other people. I'm going to be drawing everything digitally for this series, but I have everything set up on here to give me that traditional feel as much as possible. I'm going to do my best to tell you what translates digitally to traditional, as well as what doesn't. My hope with this is that you watch these videos, you reach out with any questions you might have, and over time you build these skills that will absolutely make you a better artist. Alright, so welcome to the first video for the Dynamics of Drawing series. Today we're going to be talking about 2D shapes, talking about squares and rectangles, circles, and triangles. And while we draw them, I want you to look around your environment, look around the room that you're in, or if you're outside, I want you to look around and try to find primitive shapes in your environment. What objects are around you, and see what primitive shapes make up that object. Another thing I want to note before we start is that I'm not expecting you to draw a perfect square every time. This isn't to help you draw a perfect square every time. This isn't to help you draw the perfect triangle or circle. No, it's more, I want you to get drawing circles more and triangles more. And doing that along with identifying them in your everyday, that's definitely going to help you understand different art pieces that you look at, but it can also help you to build art because you have a better understanding of how some of these fundamental shapes talk to each other. Okay, so with that being said, let's get into it. Okay, so like I said, I'm drawing digitally, so I like to use the technical pen, and then I like to bring my opacity down to like 60 something, right? Let's go like 64%. Why do I do that? Because I like, let's turn this up a little bit too. So it's because I like that it gives me different tones, which is a lot like pressure when you're using a traditional pencil. I can sit here and kind of get the same tone if I use the same amount of pressure. If I go over that again, I get a darker tone. So it's very nice for when you're sketching, you're doing little doodles or little sketches, right? And you're just kind of like keep your pressure kind of light, whatever it is that you might be doing, right? If you're doing a little tree, you know, keep your pressure light, but as you go over it, you lift up your pencil, or kind of like when you turn your pencil with traditional pencil, you get different tones. So overall, it starts to add a little bit of depth to it, a little character, blah, 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 right? Okay, but this is not drawing trees episode. We want to do primitive shapes, okay? So we've got square, we've got rectangle, we've got triangle, and we've got circle. And again, like I said, I don't really care about you drawing the perfect square. I don't care about you drawing the perfect rectangle and so on. I want you to just get in the habit of drawing squares. Okay, so let's just draw some squares. And I can kind of do different drawing styles, right? Where I kind of do the scratch method, more or less. Or I can try to do it in one, but I just did a little dent there. That's almost rectangle. But yeah, just trying to actually make more of them, right? That's a little bit more of a rectangle. And then also holding yourself accountable, responsible for when you do make it look more like a rectangle versus a square. Or just more or less when you didn't mean to do something, kind of vocalize that to yourself, but don't let it stop you from continuing. Just kind of be, okay, I didn't mean to do it like that. I'll try to do that a little bit different next time. Right? Idea. So we're just getting into drawing squares. Now, another reason why I'm using the digital setup here, at least for teaching this, it's very nice because now when we're done with squares, for me, I can just kind of take this layer and erase it and everything's gone. You can't necessarily do that with a traditional piece of paper and a pencil. I get that. It doesn't necessarily erase completely, but again, sometimes like an additive technique like gesture drawing, it's all about continuing to add, not taking away. So there's benefit to not erasing it. That's the point of that. But for this, it's kind of nice for me to just get a clean slate. So now we go back. I'm going to back those off, and let's draw some rectangles. So again, I'm just going to kind of like sketch out some, and you'll see that I'm I'm kind of being loose. I don't really care to be perfect, right? Because you could easily turn this into something more 3D looking, you know, which then could be like a joint with a circle, and we could make another one to kind of make it look like a joint, like a robotic joint or something like that with another circle, right? Just to give you an idea of how quickly these shapes can talk to each other, they can build. So let me take that back, as just kind of showing you real quick. I don't want to get like carried away with it. But yeah, let's try to do a couple of straight line ones where you're just using, you know, very few lines. Maybe we try not to pick it up. That one doesn't usually work the best for me, but it's because I usually do a gesture type of technique. So I start very loose, very messy, and a lot of my stuff will come clean, but it just takes a minute. So drawing it in one stroke, that's a very good challenge for me, because I can feel that it's not the easiest thing to do. Alright, so we've drawn a bunch of rectangles, right? Now, for any of you that have any questions on this, or you need more practice or something like that, or maybe I talked too fast on one spot, you need more clarification, let me know. But otherwise, that's a bunch of rectangles, right? Alright, let's move on to triangles. Triangles. Alright. So triangles are pretty cool because you've got so many different types of triangles, and this is where it does pay to kind of know a little bit of the mathematical terms with it, right? I tried so hard just now to make an equilateral triangle, which I believe, right, is when all three sides are the same. Boom, boom, boom. Or you've got the isosceles triangle, right, which is kind of like the front of a pyramid, or like the tall roof of a house, where two sides are the same and then one is a different length, right? Of course, you've got your right triangle, that these two sides are the same, and this side's usually different length, usually longer. Yeah, right, you can have a very tiny one, or you can have a very, very wide one. But again, this side's just going to continue to be longer, but same, longer. But yeah, so you have, and then you just have all kinds of different crazy triangles where none of them have to be the same size. There's really no wrong way to draw a triangle. There's just certain triangles that can be categorized because of how some of the side lengths are the same and whatnot, right? But nonetheless, triangles, you can almost have, I mean, you can have just as much freedom. It's just there's so many different ways to draw a triangle, to where there's really only one way to draw a square and one way to draw a rectangle. You can just draw them bigger and smaller. But for triangles, there are so many different ways you can draw triangles. So when you're looking at around in your environment, like I was telling you I encourage you to do, look around and see if anything can be broken down into a triangle of some sort. Is it a weird looking triangle where none of the sides are the same, or do you think some of the sides are the same, right? Also, notice how a square can be broken down into two triangles, and the same is true with a rectangle. You can break this down into two triangles, right? So that's kind of cool too. I encourage you to look around and see, oh, okay, well, that square table that I have, I guess, is technically two triangles, or four triangles, right? Or whatever you want to do, right? But there's a lot of different triangles that we just drew. So that should be some good practice for now. All right, and last but not least, let's do circles. Okay, so circles, I kind of like to start by doing this little dot, and it gives me a rough idea of where I should go, and then I'll do that a couple of times. I'll do this little dot method a couple of times, and eventually I get this decent circle to work with. Not the best, but it's something, right? But again, let's try this guy. Let's try it bigger. Let's try it bigger. I will increase that for now just because I'm doing like one length at a time. Or I'm sorry, one like tone, one swipe. Some small ones. Let's draw one over there. So again, not the best, but it doesn't matter because then I can try to go over it. I can go over it a few times. At least it gives me an idea. What if I'm drawing something and I don't want to put in all the detail? Well, then I can just, of something that's circular, well, then I can just kind of outline about the size that that's going to be, and I know when I come back to it, oh yeah, that's that circular object. Now I can add some detail, right? So my point is, you don't have to spend the time to get a perfect circle before you move on if that's not necessarily your focus. You can just kind of try to give yourself a little something. Okay, I know a circle is going to go here, and then I can move on and do whatever else, right? But here are a bunch of circles that we just kind of drew together. Look around your environment, see what you got around the room that's a circle. Try to find something that is a circle. It really shouldn't be too hard. Some argue that the circle is the most fundamental shape in the universe. I think it's got to be either a triangle or a circle, because a circle is in so many things, but then even a rectangle like we saw and a square can be broken down into triangles, making the triangle more fundamental, it seems.